All right. Welcome once again to this invited session. We have the honor to have a presentation from Bernard Barani. He's been with the Commission for the last 11 years or something like that.
25 years I've been in the Commission.
25 years. Oh yeah, he was 11 years in communications engineering in the industry and then 25 years with the Commission. And he knows what's happening in Europe. And he's also one of the chief architects for the Horizon Europe in the ICT field. So it would be really pleasure to hear what Bernard has to say. So Bernard, please, your turn.
Many thanks. So many thanks, Ari, for the kind introduction. First of all, I just wanted to thank very much the organizers of this conference for inviting some representatives of the European Commission, which will give us an opportunity to share with you our views, but also, most importantly, to understand from the community what is on the shelves or what is in the drawers nowadays for the next generation of communication networks. Sorry. This is very timely because, as you probably know, the Commission works with financial cycles of 7 years. So in 2020, we will reach the end of the current financial framework under which we have implemented, let's say, bold actions to support the telecom industry, notably the 5G public-private partnership, in which we have invested 700 million euros, matched by a sizable amount from the industrial side. Now, what comes after 2020, we are in the reflection process nowadays to understand how we are going to work in this domain. And last year, around summertime, the Commission made proposal for the next financial cycle that covers the period 2021 to 2027. Under this period, we are now trying to understand with the stakeholders and with industry how we will support or how we will work together on future connectivity systems or on future network generations. So first of all, a few indicators that sort of illustrate why this sector is important for the policy makers and how we maintain it, we try to maintain it high on the profile, with high profile on our agenda for the next period. We talk about smart networks and services. This is the current terminology that we use these days. I will explain why. So, sorry. We are talking about an industrial sector which is still very important in Europe in terms of GDP. Some figures were presented this morning by the speaker of China Telecom, and we have more than 3% of the GDP that coincides with the activities in this sector, so very important industrial activities. Jobs, there is still a large number of jobs in Europe which are connected to this type of activities. More than 2.5 million jobs, direct or indirect, in Europe are at this moment in time related to this type of activities. And growth, from the perspective of, let's say, growth in industry, even if the sector in itself does not exhibit very high growth factors, it's still an important enabler for growth in other domains, and notably in the vertical sectors, which were alluded to in several speeches in these days. One element which is also very important, you probably know that Europe is trying to catalyze the digitization of industry and digitization of the society and of the economy, and we see network platforms, and in particular 5G platforms, as key enablers to reach these policy objectives. One thing which has emerged more recently and which is due to the, let's say, 5G characteristics is this notion of networks as critical infrastructures. Now it becomes much more apparent to the policymakers that because 5G networks will connect very specific infrastructures such as energy infrastructures or healthcare infrastructures or factory infrastructures, which are really key for the society and for the economy, networks have much more importance to maintain, let's say, the good functioning of all the processes which are related to the functioning of the society or of the cities. Global competitiveness is also an important element because we believe that this type of industries is also important in the context of global competitiveness, in particular taking into account how far we can compete or stay abreast of the development in other regions. And also something that was mentioned several times this morning, the societal impact. We expect these infrastructures to contribute positively, of course, to the societal concerns, those of which are primarily explained in the Millennium Development Goals that GSMA has published. Now, these type of indicators indicate that whatever we do in this domain in the future, we expect that this activity will positively contribute to all these indicators, at least. So this is a kind of high-level framework to rate whatever we do in the future in research and in when we invest in a dedicated domain. Now, when we started to work on 5G in 2012, something like that, with the METIS project and a few other projects, there were a number of socio-economic drivers which were at the same time pointing towards a number of parameters to look into. So the question we ask ourselves is, are these parameters still valid? And mostly we believe that the answer is yes. At the 2012, one of the key questions for 5G was capacity increase, especially driven by Asia, because they have problems with spectrum, let's say, spectrum occupancy. And in those days, it was, let's say, customary to say that capacity must increase by a factor of 1,000. So that was a key driver. Is this driver still there? We believe it is still, because we see that traffic increase at least 50% per year. In 2012, we talked about 100% traffic increase. Now we talk about 50% traffic increase, but still it's a lot. For the applications which require low latency, we can see that now we hear for even more low latency requirements coming from applications, most probably in the factory environment, where they need now even to go for sub-millisecond latencies. Gigabit per second availability, we see the emergence of virtual reality or extended reality type of applications, which are driven by also local edge clouds. And these are also pointing towards very high rates, user rates. We, in 5G, talk about 5.9 availability, but we are hearing today that, again, in factory environment, they need to go beyond the 5 times 9 reliability figure. MMTC everywhere, that's clearly the fact that we can imagine that in the future there will be sensors all over the place, especially in cities, to control whatever, the traffic, the lighting, the traffic of cars, the availability of parking places. So we can expect a much higher densification of sensors all over the place. And then a few other requirements which maybe have been less looked into in 5G, extreme energy efficiency. I will say a few words on that. Very high security and trust. This is even more important these days. Very high mobility. We go already at 500 kilometers in 5G, so maybe there is a need to go beyond. And what seems to come as a new requirement is this centimeter level localization. But again, 5G had already positioning as one of the requirements. So all these tend to point at the idea that when we look at smart network and services, we are going to look into an increase of performances as they have been identified, the field of performances which have been identified by 5G. This will stay at least an important element to address in future generation systems. So we see this happening at this moment in time. But again, and this is something I should have said in the introduction, we don't have any predefined position of what has to be our activity beyond 2020. At this moment in time, all these are kind of reflection elements, and our intention is to progress with the stakeholders, that means with you, with the European community, to try to define in a much more precise terms what should be our research agenda beyond 2020. And this is something just to tell you that what I'm presenting here is only kind of interim type of reflection elements which may change in the next few years. Now, if you look at the requirements and how they can be matched by technologies, again, we try to categorize a few technologies, what we call a toolbox, and we say, do we have the toolbox to already apply or to already conform or serve this new type of requirements? And here again, we tend to believe that there are already a lot of things, a lot of technologies or a lot of technological drivers that are available that can be used for, let's say, progressing. Two things which are key, we believe: the performance, as we said before in the previous slide, and the cost. That means the cost efficiency or the overall efficiency of the technology. So when you look at zero latency internet, for instance, we have already a lot of work which has started about edge computing. This was already explained in several presentations before. Mobile edge computing, there are a lot of experiments which are running on it. I think Deutsche Telekom made some announcement on that 2 or 3 days ago. So there are already things happening in this domain. We are not starting from scratch. This is not something new. There are already orientations or technological orientations that can be used and put to contribution to serve this type of requirements. When we talk about ultra high capacity and serving bandwidth hungry applications or real-time XR or these kind of things, we have this notion of high density of networks, and we believe again this is something that can increase and that can go even further. Some people are talking about lamppost connectivity, which probably will be eased in cities, because what we see now is that in cities, whenever there are new lighting systems which are introduced, they come with a fiber, and the fiber is not for telecom purpose per se. It's primarily to have video cameras installed all over the place to track what the population is doing. But this fiber connectivity to the lamppost is getting increasingly popular in cities. So here again, there is a tool, possibly available tools. We talk also about having a higher rate through usage of new frequency bands, but again, this was already pioneered in 5G, where we started to move above 6 gigahertz. Now we see terahertz or even free space optics could be used in some, or LiFi at home could be used to sort of densify the network and provide even higher rate capability. So that's part of the toolbox. One thing that attracted a lot of interest in 5G was waveforms. So we heard this morning that with the latest 5G waveform, we can have efficiency of spectrum in the order of 98%. So we are getting very high there. So we are not sure this is a domain that lends itself to extra work in the future, but this is a question mark on our agenda, again, to be discussed with the stakeholders. In terms of cost efficiency, lower capex or lower cost, again, there are a number of things in the pipe that can be used and refined, especially in terms of virtualization of networks. Now we see that 5G, we have made a lot of work to move towards cloud native type of architectures. These type of architectures will probably be pushed further with the more systematic implementation of technologies beyond VNF, beyond NFV type of things. And this means that we will have more possibly activities on microservice or cloud native type of infrastructures. So artificial intelligence has also come with let's say, a new type of driver for future type of activities. And here we have seen two possible use of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence either to the benefit of the network performance of network operations, or artificial intelligence implemented in the network to the benefit of the user application. So there is a document by ATIS, the standardization body from the US, which was published last year, which has quite an interesting detail of all the possible applications that could be considered for artificial intelligence in networks. What we can see is that there are some polls or some questionnaires which have been submitted to the ICT industry at large, and this dates back to September last year, where you can see that most of the respondents that see that the main applicability of artificial intelligence is to the benefit of the network. That means to the maintenance and to the let's say to the operations of the network. Now, one thing which is also which was alluded to several times in these 2 days are the change factors, and this is just to say that we take into account the fact that the revenue streams are not anymore the same, so the industry is sort of changing. The revenues that go through the telecom operations are going down, whereas the revenues that are going to distribution and devices are going up. And this, we believe, if we look at the overall ecosystem of telecoms, is opening opportunities in other domains than the pure connectivity sectors. So that's the reason for the future period, beyond what we are doing in the 5GPP today, where we concentrate mainly on connectivity, beyond what we are doing now, we propose to move towards what we call a value chain approach. And the value chain approach means that we do not want to sort of focus on connectivity only, but to focus on connectivity in tight cooperation with the device side and with the cloud and the cloud computing and the IT side. So it's a little bit a different constellation in terms of stakeholders that we have to set up. We will start from the 5GPP community, but we will try to enlarge it in such a way that we can put in place a setup this value chain approach with 2 horizontal aspects that we believe are very important for us to address, which are, one is network energy efficiency. It's not one of the main, let's say, contributor to carbon footprint, but still it's important in terms of cost. And end-to-end security and trust, where we believe we have not made much so far at community level at least. So this I will skip in the interest of time. It's basically the same. Just a few words to say that to put this in motion and to set that up, we are thinking at this moment in time of creating a partnership with industry, and this partnership with industry we are discussing now with the stakeholders on how to set it up in Europe. We would like this to operate under the so-called Horizon Europe proposal. Horizon Europe is our proposal for research in the next framework program. It's a little bit less than 100 billion euros, and there is a pillar called the Global Challenge, which is tackling industry-related research. This industry-related research has been sort of split into 5 domains: healthcare, security, digital industry and space, climate, energy, food and natural resource. And under this cluster, we have a pillar, an intervention area called Next Generation Internet, and that's under this Next Generation Internet area that we are trying to set up a partnership to address this value chain approach, combining IoT, networks, and cloud. So the partnership that we propose has 2 aspects: one which is related to pure research, another one which is related to deployment, and the deployment element would be primarily to support European deployment of 5G technology. We have a budget envelope of about 3 billion for that, to support deployment of 5G technology along what we call cross-border corridors. That means along the transport paths. So at this moment in time, again, this is all under construction, under development. So if we are invited again next year or in 2 years' time, we'll tell you where we are. But at this moment in time, we are working on the setting up of this partnership with an important deadline, which is end of this year, to finalize the process with the member states and with the stakeholders to define the budget envelope first, and also the boundaries and the activities that will be encapsulated in this type of work. We don't call it yet 6G. Maybe this is something we have to consider for the future. But because we try to compile or to combine sectors coming from different perspectives, again, IoT, connectivity, and cloud, we prefer to call it smart network and services, because the service element is something that we believe is very important. So with this, I conclude this set of slides, and I hope I did not extend too much my allocations. Thanks a lot.
Any questions for Emma?
Eine Frage.
Pella from Aalto University. And we are really deploying virtualization into networks. We talk about virtualized network functions, and we are pushing operators to invest into cloud technology. At the same time, European Union has this funny law about the network neutrality that prevents them natively using in a competitive manner this technology against AWS and other Microsoft and other sort of global monopolies in this area. Is something going to change in this area or not? You also referred to this kind of blended or like breaking the boundaries between what is network and what is cloud. That pushes investments towards the cloud, but at the same time, hands of the operators are tied behind their backs because of the network neutrality law.
Yeah. Again, this is under development, so I'm not sure I can give you a 100% definitive answer on that. What we understand by talking to the stakeholders is that there is a strong move to move intelligence, that means computing capabilities, at the edge of the network. Now, we need to define what is the edge of the network. There may be several edges of the network. But this computing inclusion in networks already started with 5G, with all the virtualization movement, and is going to be improved with dedicated applications such as connected cars, automated vehicles. And for connected cars and automated vehicles, by talking with GSMA, we realized that there will be a kind of need of a cloud behind the connectivity of the connected cars to manage the services which are being provided to the connected cars. And this does not need necessarily to be an established cloud provider. It can be other type of solutions. So we are in the mode of analyzing this type of opportunities that European industry has, taking into account also that in the industry itself, in the vendors, for instance, they are already investing quite a lot in cloud technologies to the benefit of the operations of their network. So we try to see how far we can extend this move towards potentially competing with OTT-type services. But where is the boundary between the two worlds? I can't tell you at this moment in time. But there is a move in that direction.
Quick question, quick answer. And then
This is just a comment. It's my understanding of the network neutrality law that it paves the way for AWS and Microsoft to take over some of this new great 5G functionality that we are defining, because the law prevents operators in freely investing into cloud technology and making the best use of it. So I think there's time to sort of reconsider the situation in this area and think about the regulation that is needed for in this new era when everything moves to cloud.
Okay, point taken. But I can only encourage you to work with the Finnish community, which is feeding us with their own requirements in such a way that we can take your concern into account.
Raimo is a very good spokesman against net neutrality. So thank you very much. Thank you, Bernard, once more.